and welcome to this video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ash. I hiked the PCT in 2023, and if you're not new to the channel and you followed along with that, thank you so much for coming back. Since coming back, I've had quite a few questions from international people on how to go about planning this trail. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about visas, permits, flights, money and budgets, insurance, phone sims, gear, getting the trail, postal service, food differences, tipping, laundry, apps, hitchhiking, and animals on the trail. And as with all of my videos, I'm going to be sharing my experiences with these things, so of course do your own research, don't take my word for it, but hopefully this can help answer some of the questions that you've been having. So I'm going to start with visas, and the reason why I'm starting with that is because if you are seriously considering the PCT and have done all your research, visas is a really good place to start because you can't really do anything without a visa. So I would just go ahead, get started, get this ball rolling, because there's no point in booking flights or anything until you have your visa secured. And once you get your visa, you have 10 years to use it. Your 6 months doesn't start until you enter the country. It is recommended to apply for this visa about 3 months before you plan on going, but if it was me, I would just try and get it done as early as possible, because in my experience, when I went to get my visa, there was no available appointments for the foreseeable future in this country. So yeah, I would try to get it done early. But I have heard of people being able to get it a lot quicker. The visa that you need to get is the B2 multiple entry visa, and this will allow you to stay in the country for 6 months at a time. So what you do to get that is, I'll put the link in the description to get to the website, but basically you have to fill in a DS-160 form. This will ask things like your personal details. I think it even asks about my parents' details. And also one tricky thing is it will ask you for a US address. I was a bit worried about this at first, but luckily I had friends that lived in Florida, so I was able to use their address. I also saw a lot of people in the Facebook groups asking for trail angels addresses, and like pretty much always I saw people replying to get in touch with them about that. So if you don't know anyone in the US, just get on Facebook in one of the trail angel groups and hopefully someone can help you there. It also asks you to have a photograph ready, so you'll have to submit this when you're applying for the visa. And once you have all that together, you have to pay a non-refundable processing fee. I think at the time for me it was around $160. And then you book the interview, and like I said, there was no available spots here, which was really frustrating. So I basically contacted them and said, did I just pay $160 for a service I can't use? Because there was nothing as far as the calendar went. But that is Belfast, Northern Ireland. It's a tiny place, so you might have more luck. But they were actually really helpful. They told me to apply for an appointment in London and then apply to expedite it, and then I was like given another time in Belfast. But of course, if something like that happens to you, definitely speak to them before doing that. So then I ended up getting an appointment really quick. I had my appointment within 2 weeks. So I'm just gonna read off a few of my notes here. So to the interview, you need to bring a passport with at least 6 months left on it, but it is a good idea to have about a year, because if you think if you're going in 6 months time and you're going to be there for 6 months, so you want to make sure you have plenty of time left on your current passport. You also need to bring your DS-160 form printed out. You'll have to bring a payment receipt, and they also ask you to bring a photograph. I did bring a photograph. They never asked for it on the day, but just because it's listed there, I would just bring it just to be safe. It is also really important that you actually know what you're doing, like know a good bit about the PCT. I brought I had a little guidebook. I brought kind of like my spreadsheet, my resupply spreadsheet. I kind of had in my head where exactly I was going to be hiking through. I think that is really important. They just want to know that, you know, you're actually going to do what you're saying you're doing. You also have to be able to prove your funds. So for this, I just took a printout of my bank statement, and they also want proof of your return. This can be a bit tricky because a lot of people hiking the PCT have left their jobs. I had finished up a job, so I wasn't in work at the time. But what I did was I spoke to my previous employer, and he was really nice and basically wrote me a letter to say that for the next contract they would hire me back. I also, this sounds a bit weird, but I heard of people doing this. I also got my parents to write a note to basically say that I will be back. I'll be back. Yeah, you can show things like if you've got any commitments here, like, you know, if you own a house or a car or something, I would just like do what you can. Yeah, just bring everything you can to hopefully show that you're gonna return. So how the actual interview went, I have to be honest, I was scared shitless when I was going for this interview because everything was leading on it, and I was like, if I don't get this approved, I'm not gonna be able to do it. But I shouldn't have worried. It is really not as bad as it sounds. But how it actually went was I turned up to the embassy and there was a bit of a queue. It kind of felt like an airport. We basically went through security, had to put my stuff in a locker. So that's good to know, is that don't bring too much stuff because you're gonna have to put it in a tiny little locker because you can't bring anything in with you apart from your documents. And then I just went into the building, and what was quite surprising was you basically just go up to like a kind of like booth sort of thing. So there's like all seats, everyone's waiting there, and you just go up, and the lady asked a few questions. I actually thought that I failed the interview at this point because she said, "Are you going on holiday?" And I, for some reason, said, I think I panicked, I had a big brain fart, and I was like, no. Yes, you know, because I was kind of like, in my head, PCT, I wasn't thinking holiday, but of course it is intended to be like a holiday type visa. So anyway, that tripped me up, and she was like, go sit down, and I was like, is that it? Have I failed it? And I was like starting to worry, and so I went back up to the desk, and I was like, and I was gonna like start explaining, and she was like, you'll be called again in a minute. So I went down, sat down, and then I got called for the second part, which was at another window. This one was in a wee room. And yeah, I went up, and the guy was really, really nice. He asked some more questions, and yeah, like, I'm just trying to remember what questions, kind of just basically asking, you know, what I do at home, what I do for work, and yeah, why I needed 6 months. And because I thought the previous little interview went really bad, I was like, okay, get it together. And I was just railing off. I was like, I'm gonna go do the Pacific Crest Trail. It's hiking 2,653 miles through California, Oregon, Washington. And I was like, and then the guy just looked at me and he went, cool, I was on the PCT last year. And he was like, amazing, stamp. And he was like, just be careful with the snow this year and have fun. And like, that was it. It was like a few minutes long. Then they take your passport, and then after like a couple of weeks, you'll get it back. If I remember rightly, I think you had to pay £20 to get it posted to your house. So I said, there's another option to get it posted to like a postal place. So I said, I'll just do that. It ended up that the place to pick it up was in the middle of nowhere, which seemed really strange to me. But anyway, went and picked up my passport a couple weeks later, and then inside it is the visa. Woo-hoo! And then now you've got that done, this is when the exciting part starts. You can start planning. Oh yes, and I just remembered another question that I got about visas is someone said, can you go into Canada and come back and get it renewed? So technically, no, seems to be the answer. But I have heard of people doing it, but it seems to really just depend on the person that you get at the desk. if they're going to be nice and give you another 6 months. I also heard of a lot of people, in fact I hiked with a guy who, when he was coming into the country, he mentioned to them, oh, we've got a high snow year, you know, it's going to be tight, and they stamped him in for a year. I definitely met multiple people that had that. So yeah, it does seem worth asking if you think you're going to need longer than 6 months. Otherwise, it is very expensive. I looked into it at the time I was out there to see if I could extend. It's expensive, it's not guaranteed. You have to go to do fingerprints somewhere and all this. Yeah, it wasn't going to be an option for me. But the handy thing is if you're wanting to come back in the future, you've got your visa. So I've actually used mine twice, because when I was flying back from Australia, I didn't have to get an ESTA visa to go through the US. I was able to use my B2 visa. So for hopefully the Appalachian Trail, I'm gonna already have my visa, and it's gonna be so much more straightforward. Okay, let's talk about permits. This also seemed like a really scary thing, which ended up not being a problem at all. I'm going to explain how it went for me in my year. It does seem to change, so definitely research it yourself. For me, what I had to do was I had to register on the PCTA website, and then there's 2 permit days. So basically there's one in November. They release 35 permits a day in that release, and then there's one in February. So what happens is you pre-register, then near the day, what they'll do is they'll give you a time slot. That is your time slot to log on. So if I remember rightly, it was like between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. US time, and the earlier you get, the better. So if you were at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., you log on, there's like 35 permits per day between I think it's March and June. I was very lucky. I think mine was around midday or so, a bit earlier. And when I logged on, I could have chosen any date. You could see the numbers, you know, there might be like 15 out of 35 left. And yeah, so it helps to be flexible, because if you're near the end, they might be all gone. But also keep in mind that there will be a second release where they release 15 a day. So there's that chance to pick up one. You can also pick up one, you know, like the unpopular times would be more like early and late season. You can pick up one, and then as far as I know, you can change it. So have an idea of a date in your mind, but don't be too disappointed if you don't get it, because it is a myth that you have to have a PCT permit to thru hike the PCT. It makes it so much easier, because there's so many sections that you would have to get individual permits, but it is possible, and I have heard of people doing it. I would check out Yogi's class of 2024, whatever year, page, because on my year, she did a really good visa on permits and how to go about it if you don't get a permit. Like for example, if you can only get one that's like way later than you need to start, you know, you could start your PCT permit like later, and then just do local permits for the first section and things like that. I'll not go into too much detail about it because I don't really know. I was very lucky, I got my permit, and yeah, anyone I know that was wanting the permit got a permit. When you do get your permit, you can't print this out until 3 weeks before. So just remember, 3 weeks before, print out your permit and carry it with you. Another permit you'll need is your California fire permit. This is super easy to do. You basically log on to the website, you watch a couple of videos, you take a wee quiz, print it out, carry that with you as well. And another thing is your Canada entry permit. This is really exciting. I got so excited when I got mine. In 2023, because of COVID, they had stopped this for quite a while. So they only started doing it again while I was on my hike. So I basically had to find a library to do it. But I think now you should be able to get it beforehand, which is advisable because it can take a month or so to get. But it was pretty easy. Basically just had to fill in a form, and did I have to put photographs on it? Like photographs of your, you know, scans of your ID, things like that. Can't fully remember. It was pretty easy. This allows you, that gives you a permit as a PCT hiker to walk into Canada. Even if you don't think that you want to go into Canada, if you think you're going to backtrack and go to Hart's Pass, it's probably worth having anyway, just in case, because you never know, you know, you might take a fancy to go into Manning Park at the end, which I do recommend because that was a really cool experience. So I think that's everything for permits. I've probably missed a lot of things, but yeah, I wouldn't stress too much about it. There's always a way. Oh, actually, do you know what? I will post a link to Mary's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. She's amazing. I love her. I love her videos. She's from the UK and she did some great videos with tips for international hikers, and she talks a lot about the visa and permit as well. So I'll drop that in the description. All right, on to flights. So I thought that you would have to have a return flight, but most people seem to go without a return flight, which makes sense because you don't know when you're going to finish. So it makes sense to go in one way. However, for me, at the time when I booked, I saved a lot of money booking a return, even if I didn't take the return flight back. It was crazy. It was like, if I remember, it was maybe £650 or so both ways, or £1,000 one way, which absolutely does not make sense to me. So even if I booked both ways and threw out my return ticket, it was still cheaper. So definitely check out the return. For me, I booked with Aer Lingus I went Dublin to LA to San Diego. I booked my return from Seattle, and with Aer Lingus at the time, they had a 0 fee to change, which was kind of handy if I needed it. I didn't need it. I ended up making my flights, so it worked out really well. Actually, I've got the exact price here now looking at it. It was £614 round trip from Dublin, LA, San Diego, Seattle to Dublin, or $785. Another thing, I would recommend getting there at least a few days before you plan on starting the trail, at least. But for me, it was a bit different because I had COVID at the start. It sucked. I missed my start date. I had to spend some time in a hotel. It was really depressing, but I would say a few days just to allow yourself to get over jet lag. Do your first resupply, which is quite exciting. Send some boxes if you want. But yeah, I would say for me, 3 days. A lot of people I met literally went from like the airport to like one night in San Diego and then to the trail, which will allow you more time to hike the trail. So whatever works for you there. Okay, money and budgets. This is a really tricky one, and I'll tell you why. Because I didn't keep track very well. I had 2 bank cards. Sometimes between us, someone might, you know, let's say I booked the hotel for like 5 of us and then people would pay me cash and stuff like that. So it was hard to fully keep track, but I went back through all my online banking and I tried to get a figure of what I spent on the trail. I estimate I spent around $9,650 US. This doesn't include insurance, my GoPro that broke and I had to replace, doesn't include flights. Yeah, doesn't include gear. Apart from the gear I had to replace out there, doesn't include the gear I bought before. So that's a rough figure. I would say I was absolutely not on a budget. If you watch my PCT series, you'll very much know that. My trail family were very partial to a hot tub in an Airbnb, and we liked a lot of Fireball and beers in town and pizzas, and we just had the best time ever. So I wasn't on a budget, so keep that in mind. You could do it for a lot less. You could also do it for a lot more. Like we weren't crazy with spending money, you know. A lot of the time, because we were such a big trail family, it worked out cheaper for us to stay in an Airbnb with a hot tub rather than a hostel. But yeah, keep that in mind. People used to say you could do it for $1,000 a month. I think that's quite an outdated figure now because it is expensive on trail. I won't lie to you. But you can do it for less than what I did. What I will say is that I'm very glad that I saved up the money to not have to worry, because honestly, it is going to be the best experience of your life, once in a lifetime. And you know, there was times where I was like, I want to go tubing down the river in Bend and just have the best time ever, go to like every saloon and, you know, do silly things like play like crazy golf and, you know, just have a bit of fun and stay in the Timberline Lodge and do all these things. And I was able to do that. But I was very fortunate I was able to save to do that. But yeah, the more you can save, the better. When it comes to cards, most people I met were using Revolut. This was quite handy. I did use this for the majority. What that is you basically load on, so for me, sterling, pounds, I loaded on to the card, and then I was able to buy dollars. And you're allowed, if I remember rightly, you're allowed about $1,000 fee free per month. So if it's still like that now, I'm pretty sure it is, start loading on money a few months before you go. I would just try and load that on, because just so you've got enough there that you don't end up going over and having to pay a fee. I also had as a backup a Starling card. I really like Starling card because you don't have to pre-buy the currency. You basically will use the card there, and then it will take the conversion of that day. And always make sure when you're paying somewhere, if you get the option to pay in local currency, do that, because you do save a bit. I've done an experiment with that and it is cheaper to pay in local currency. So both cards seem to work for me. I just like to have two, because I carry one in my bum bag or in my phone, so it's always there, and then I would have one sneaky away in like my toiletries bag, you know, just because that was two different bags, so if I lost one, I always had another card. I would also recommend carrying some cash. There were some places that were cash only, and of course you want to be able to tip anyone that gives you a ride, like Trail Angels, even though most of the time they won't take it, but it's nice to be able to offer. I would usually carry around $100 on me, and it can also be handy to carry quarters for doing your laundry in town too, but not essential. Most of them have little quarter machines. Okay, next big thing as an international person is insurance. Thankfully, I did not need my insurance, so I can't say 100% how good this company is, but it was recommended to me and I heard lots of other international people using it. I used Big Cat travel insurance. So when you're getting your travel insurance, make sure that it covers the altitude you're going to be hiking at and microspikes and ice axes. That's a really important one. I used, I think I had, it was like the activity pack or something, but I would definitely like speak to them, because they've got like a wee chat box, and I messaged them and told them exactly what I was doing, so I could make sure if anything went wrong, they couldn't say you're not covered because you were at this altitude or whatever. Another thing I did, I haven't heard of many people doing this, but I bought 3 months insurance at a time, because I thought it's so expensive. I would be so raging if I went out there, broke an ankle within like a month, and had paid for 6 months insurance. So it did cost a little bit more to do it. I did speak to them about this to check it was possible, and like it was maybe like £50 more, but the insurance in total cost me, is that right? I think around £483 altogether, which is $617 US. So I did that in 2 lots. I did the first 3 months, and then yeah, I was like three months in, $1,000, I'm gonna keep going. I then renewed it for another 3 months. I like doing that. Most people don't do it, but hey ho. Alright, phones on the trail. I use T-Mobile month by month contract. It was around $50 a month for unlimited, which I was happy to have because I was posting videos and I just didn't want to risk going over the amount. Yeah, it was quite expensive. For some reason, that was the only place I couldn't use my Revolut card, so I had to borrow someone else's card and transfer the money. And also, of all the networks of anyone that I was hiking with, I always had the worst coverage. It worked well in towns, but I would say from what I could see, AT&T and Horizon seemed to be the most popular with the best coverage as well. So it's worth checking them out. I did like having the unlimited. I will say as well, it's not as easy to get a SIM out there as it is here in the UK. You do have to like book an appointment, or at least I did. With T-Mobile, I had to go in and sit down and like talk to them. Whereas like here, I just ordered mine like online or like picked it up in a supermarket. So keep that in mind. But you know, I mean, it was easy enough. I was able to get it, no bother. And with coverage on the trail, I got it more than I expected, but there was definitely, you could go days without any coverage. So, you know, if you're on top of a mountain, a lot of the time you did get internet, but yeah, it wasn't amazing, it wasn't terrible. In each section you'll be able to get coverage at some point most of the time. Okay, on to my favorite topic of discussion is gear. Most of my gear was found in the UK. It was kind of frustrating because I would watch all these gear videos, get my heart set on something, and then remember, oh yeah, I can't get that here. Or if I do, if you buy anything from the US and it comes here, you have to pay an import tax on it, which can cost a lot of money, so keep that in mind. However, there are some websites that do have some gear from the US, so like ultralight outdoor gear. They are great. I got a few things from them. They do things like Big Agnes tents and all those things that, you know, we typically wouldn't get here. Valley and Peak is also very good. I ordered my Enlightened Equipment quilt through them. They dealt with the import tax and all that. It did cost me more than it would if I got it out there, but I was really wanting to test it out here, so I was really happy that I did get it before. But if there's any gear that you want to order that's only in the US that you don't need to test out, like for example, I got my Gossamer gear 1/8 pad ordered to Scout and Frodo's, who are amazing trail angels that I stayed with in San Diego. So you could probably contact a trail angel and see if they would mind holding stuff for you. For shoes, I worried about this. I really worried about how am I going to replace my shoes out there. It was really easy. There's a lot of businesses along the trail that you can send stuff to, like hostels, hotels, and that sort of thing. So I was able to order online and send it to these places, which is great. And also Blaze Physio, if you check out again on Yogi's Class of Facebook page, in 2023 she posted a PDF of like a guide of when to change your shoes, and where to change your shoes if they're new, you know, that sort of thing. So that was great to have. I pretty much followed that. I changed my shoes 3 times on the PCT. For example, one was in Ashland. I was able to get it ordered to, I think I actually got it ordered to a post office. I ordered them from REI. Okay, snow gear. Another thing that I stress about that I shouldn't have is when and where to pick up snow gear. This is gonna really depend on your year. 2023, record-breaking snow year. We needed ice axes and micro spikes from as early as San Jacinto, mile like 150-ish. I was able to order my micro spikes to a place called Venture Nomads, which is near Paradise Valley Cafe, and this is like the first section that you might need them. So it was great. I ordered them online, got them sent there. I picked them up, went and had a burger in Paradise Valley Cafe and a beer. I was ready to go. Oh yes, my ice axe. I got my ice axe ordered there as well. So it's handy enough. If it's a low snow year, you might not need them until Kennedy Meadow South for the Sierra, and you can buy them there, you can order them there, so easy peasy. Bear cans. I actually didn't need a bear can in the end because the section that you needed it, which is the Sierra, we had to skip because of the snow this year. But I was very lucky that a trail angel was going to lend me a bear can that I saw on a PCT International page, which was really nice of them. You can rent them at Kennedy Meadow South. You can also buy it and sell it on. Yeah, if it was me and I was to do it again and didn't have someone willing to lend me one, I probably would have just rented one, but I have no experience of that, so yeah, don't quote me on that. And getting the trail, just exciting just thinking about getting the trail. So there's a couple of ways you can get the trail. You can take a public bus from San Diego. I know a few people who did it. I think it was pretty cheap to do. Or you can take the Southern Terminus shuttle. This is pretty expensive, but honestly for me, it was worth it. I ended up making such good friends on the bus. Vortex, as you know, I hiked most of the trail with. She was on the bus beside me, and we made good friends there and are still friends to this day. So it was just a really fun experience. They called by scouting photos as well, so it was kind of like everyone came out to see us off and, you know, our big adventure, and I really enjoyed it. Also, Cookie and Andrew and Eminem. There was loads of like familiar faces that you'll know from my videos that I actually met on the Southern Terminus shuttle. Okay, so the postal service, be careful sending stuff home because, like I said, you have to pay a really big import tax. There's so many trail angels that are willing to help on the Facebook groups. There was one lovely lady that I was able to send my stuff to. She held on to it, and then at the end she was able to post it to me, which was really great. So I would recommend trying to keep the stuff in the US. However, when I changed my mind and decided I wanted to change tent, my mum was able to post me my tent from the UK to somewhere in California, and it wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be. So, you know, it's not the end of the world if you're like, damn it, I should have brought that. It's quite easy to send out. I think it's worth sending back because of the tax thing, but I'm going to talk a lot more about the postal service in my resupply video. But in a nutshell, you can pick up these boxes in the post office and they go by weight, so roughly like $20 depending on the size, and you can just pack it full of stuff. And if you do if I remember, priority one, you can like send that to a post office, and then basically if you don't open it, you get like one free bounce where you can send it on again. Again, do your own research on that. I find this postal service to be amazing, to be honest. I had no problems with it, but I will talk about that more in the next video. Okay, food differences. This is a question that I've had a few times. So the main thing I will say is chocolate tastes terrible. I don't know what it is. At least for me, the chocolate did not taste very good, but there was no other massive differences. Like, you're gonna find that food, because of like the colouring laws and stuff, the food is so much brighter out there. Like, I don't think that's a good thing, but like, yeah, the sweets are like in your face, bright, and full of numbers and all that. But I had no problem. I had no problem with the food out there. There was no like adjustment time or anything. Somebody asked if they should put some UK treats into the resupplies. Totally up to you. There wasn't really anything I really missed, to be honest. I was able to get anything I wanted. Totally up to you. Someone asked, can you bring dehydrated food into the US? I didn't take any food in. There are some rules about if it has, you know, if it's like fresh fruit, seeds, all that. I don't know, it seemed too complicated for me to declare, so I didn't. With the Huel foods, they do it in the US, so I was able to buy that as I went. I would like bulk order it, pack it up in the resupply boxes and post it off. So I dealt with all my food out there. I don't think you really need to take any food from home unless there's something that you really think you're gonna miss. And someone asked, is it easy to find water en route? Use the Far Out app, it's the best thing ever. It lists all the water sources and it'll have people's reviews on it of if the water's flowing or not. It's pretty easy, depending on your year. Of course, the desert can be a bit dry. I had no problem. There's a couple of dry sections, but most of the time it's easy to figure out the water, so I wouldn't stress about that. Okay, and another question was about tipping. Tipping is very different in the US, and I am going to pass you over to my favorite person ever. We have Vortex to talk all about tipping.
Hi, this is Vortex here. Zippy just wanted me to go over just kind of our tipping policy in the US. I know it was kind of confusing for her when she first was looking into the trail, and just to kind of go over the basic things here. Now we do tip, which I know is different in other countries. When you do dine out, our customary tip here is 15 to 20%. I always believe in tipping 20 to 25%. We aren't kind of the usual customers. We are a little bit needier. We sometimes haven't showered in a week. We sometimes want a lot more refills than the average person. We may sit for hours. We might also ask to charge devices. And, you know, I always just think that going above and beyond also helps the hiking culture, because they're going to want us back. If you don't tip and you make a mess and you're needy and you're rude to the servers, kind of gives us like this entitled hiking, you know, I guess, entitlement that we would have. And that's the last thing you want, is these small towns not wanting us in their restaurants, you know. And you never know when you're going to ever need a ride. You don't know who's there as far as a customer in the restaurant or even the serving staff. In 2019, the server at Paradise Valley Cafe ended up driving us back to the trail, which was nice. I know it's not a far hitch, but it just saved us the time in the day. So again, leaving a couple additional dollars can really make someone's day. Some of these restaurants are busy, some of them aren't busy. I just always think that this is their job. We should be as nice as we can. I understand it's a different tipping culture than other countries. If you do not want to tip, I say then just get your food to go. Don't sit in the restaurant. I'm not going to get into a tipping debate, but if you don't believe in it, then just don't go out to eat. Just get it to go. That saves all the problems. But again, this is just what we do in the U.S. We have different pay structures in different states. Things are expensive in California. Gas is expensive, food is expensive, living costs are expensive, along with Oregon and Washington. But also just things to consider, if you are getting a ride from a trail angel or hitchhiking or whoever, you should really offer gas money. They may not always take it. I know when I trail angel, I don't always take it because I believe in paying forward, but you don't really know who really needs the money, and you're kind of having them do you a favor anyways, so it's really nice to offer. Sometimes you come across trail magic. Donations are always a nice thing to offer. Again, they may not take it, but it always helps that if you donate, then maybe they're going to do it next year because they're going to have money from this year to do it the following year. Again, always offer. Don't think anything is for free here. And if you don't have the money for those things, then maybe you should save a little bit more to consider, because again, you're going to need the help of others just to get to town, to resupply, whatever it is. It really just brings the hiking community together with the small towns, just making sure that we're all working together. I hope this helps, you know, kind of go over some more tipping thing. Again, if you have any questions or comments, you could leave them in the bottom of the YouTube. Hopefully we can get back to you. Again, I've just been in the service industry, so I totally get it. I understand it's a different way of lifestyle, but there's also even basic things that, like if you go to a Starbucks or a bar and you get a beer, you know, those are kind of different tipping, I would say, percentages. So if you get like a beer, you could tip $1. You don't always have to tip the 20% if you're just getting a quick beer exchange. But again, what's the harm of throwing an extra $1 down? It's just, I don't know. I think it's just good benefit all around for the community. But it was great talking to everyone, and hopefully I will see you guys in Zippy's YouTube channel soon. Bye.
Thank you, Vortex, for that explanation. And on to laundry. This is another thing that you have to faff about once you're in town, and it is a lot easier than you think, because most towns will have a laundry place. Some hotels will have a laundry place. A couple of tips for that is we would often do laundry together, you know, team up like 2 people, because sometimes they're massive washing machines. So we would do it together. If you're doing resupply boxes and you're in a town and you're buying laundry pods, you may as well pop a few laundry pods into your resupply boxes, because then you get to the town, you've already got your laundry pods, you can go and sort out your laundry. It was one of the first things we wanted to do as soon as possible when we got into a town, because you're stinking, you're disgusting. And yeah, you want to wash everything. So a lot of the time you'll see hikers walking about in their waterproofs. Did it all the time. One time I wore my sleeping bag liner just so I could clean all my clothes. So it's easy to do. It's easy to find places to wash your clothes in town. Okay, somebody asked what apps you should use. Far Out is The holy grail of apps on the PCT, I love it. It will help you plan your whole trail, it'll help you see what's in towns, you can look ahead and see what the elevation's gonna be like, you can see water sources, resupply towns. It is amazing. I love Far Out, 100% recommend. It's also handy to have Uber on your phone because a lot of places there use Ubers for taxis. And also I will share a link to an app that SnakeMate use. It's a check app and it's a map and you can download it offline. This was amazing because some routes that weren't on Far Out actually were on this, you know, if we needed to like take any like alternative routes. It's a great backup, and you can like click from A to B and it'll plan your route. That is really handy. I still use that to this day and it's a really nice backup from Far Out. Okay, another thing that almost put me off doing the PCT altogether was hitchhiking. You're gonna need the hitchhike on the PCT. There's like no way to do it without it. You're gonna have to do it at some point, and I have to say, of all the hitchhikes I did, I had the best experience. It ended up being one of the things I feared the most, and one of the things that I have some of my favorite stories from people I met hitchhiking. People are so nice as well. Most of the time they won't even want to take your money. Sometimes they do. Most of the times they'll be like, no, we should be paying you for your stories, but always offer. I think as a rough guide it was something like $1 per mile, just to keep in your head of what to offer. So always carry some cash on you. And when you're hitchhiking, always smile, try and have your backpack visible and your hiking poles so they know that you're a hiker and not a homeless person, because we definitely do look like that. And also pick a good place for cars to pull in, you know, like before like one of those, I can't remember what you call it, you know, just make it somewhere that it's going to be easy for someone to be like, do you know what, I will pick these people up. And yeah, just be super nice and yeah, offer to give money, and then it means they're going to be more likely to pick up another hiker in the future. So I had the best experiences, so don't let that be the thing that puts you off, because people are super nice along the PCT and they love PCT hikers. I think this is my last topic, which is on animals, because of course if you're coming from overseas you're going to be seeing things that sound really scary on paper, like bears for example. It was one of the questions I got most was, are you not going to get eaten by a bear? So I will say that yes, there's bears or snakes. One of the most annoying creatures you're going to deal with is going to be mosquitoes. Literally in a cloud of mosquitoes. They're eating me. There are a lot of mosquitoes in Oregon, and there are ways to make it slightly better, like mosquito head net and sprays and stuff, but eventually they are gonna do your head in. You're gonna be sick of them, but it doesn't last forever, and you will eventually be out of that cloud of mosquitoes, but they will be there. But yeah, just know to expect it and get your mosquito head net. Vortex got a full-on mosquito suit, which I think worked well for her. You can get little mosquito pyramids if you like cowboy camping, which I think they're great. Another thing, okay, rattlesnakes. You're gonna see some rattlesnakes, and especially in the desert section. Coming out of Scissors Crossing after Julian, we saw a lot of rattlesnakes. I got far too close to this rattlesnake. Rattlesnake! Massive rattlesnake!
The minute we start backing off.
What I will say, sometimes they're very hard to see. And yeah, I came quite close to stepping on one. This snake was not happy. It went all like, you know, rattling its bum and like about to go like this at me, and like I full on, like I've never moved so fast in my life. And yeah, just ask SnakeMate how she got her trail name. You're gonna see some snakes, but most of the time, like it wasn't a problem. Just try to not listen to music through both ears. If you're listening to music, always keep an ear out to hear. Keep an eye on the ground, check where you're walking. They don't want to bite you, you know. you would have to be pretty unlucky. Like, you know, I have heard of people getting bit by rattlesnakes on the PCT, but of anyone I know, and I even know someone that stood on a rattlesnake, they were okay. But of course, they are dangerous animals, so try your best to avoid them, but you will see them. Bears, they're black bears on the PCT. Yeah, they're pretty big, I have to say. It was a bit scary seeing my first bear, but also amazing. I was really excited. I had no problem with bears. Yeah, I don't know anyone that did have problems with the bears. You basically just want to make yourself really big and scare them away. I'm no bear expert now. This is just what we did. And yeah, what seems to be advised for black bears. Most of the time they're wanting your food, not you. So yeah, just be careful with your food. Yeah, I wouldn't let the black bears put you off, because, you know, they're not like gonna go out of their way to eat you. I don't think there's been, as far as I know, I don't think there's been any deaths from a black bear on the PCT. Don't quote me on that though, but yeah, it's amazing. I loved seeing the black bears. I didn't actually see any until I saw one in Oregon, and then the rest were in Washington. But it was really exciting to see them. Another thing that I was kind of scared of was mountain lions. It was kind of scary when we were seeing the footprints. There was a few places where we saw big kitty cat prints.
So earlier we saw a large paw print, and far out is telling us that there's a mountain lion been sighted in the area. So
and we knew that they were there. Well, they definitely knew that we were there. We never ever saw a mountain lion, but I did meet people on the trail that did see a mountain lion. But again, I don't think they're generally not really a problem on trail. But of course, you know, always sort of keep an eye out, you know, don't be blasting your music. And generally, I don't think mountain lions are really a problem, but they definitely are on trail, and you might see signs of them. So I just realized that I hope all that didn't scare the shite out of you. In general, all the animals, like, yeah, I loved seeing the animals. You're gonna see a lot of deer as well. You know, they're not all big scary things that's gonna kill you. I had no problem with the animals. I don't know anyone that's had any problems with the animals. I haven't even read any stories of people that have had serious problems with animals. Of course, I've heard of, you know, rattlesnake bites, but like generally, like, I think you're much more likely to die crossing the road in a city, so keep that in mind. And in general, I felt super safe on the PCT, I have to say. You know, another question I got asked was, did you carry a gun? Like, of course I didn't. I wouldn't even know how to use one. I never felt like I needed it. I felt really safe. There's a lot of other hikers around. People are super, super friendly. Everyone has each other's backs. I had my Garmin InReach Mini satellite thing, and had that tracking so people knew my whereabouts. And yeah, so I think that's me pretty much at the end of the video. Yeah, I would say, like, as an international hiker, you do have some more hoops to jump through than someone who's local. So there's a lot more to do, but it is not, you know, it's not the hardest thing in the world, you know, it's just more boxes to tick, and honestly, it's the best thing you'll ever do in your life. It is absolutely worth the effort. In the description of this video, I'm going to post some links, a couple of links to some other people's YouTube channels it's worth checking out. And also, if there's any like corrections or updates of anything I've said, I'm going to put that in the description box as well, or anything I missed, because there's probably something I've missed along the way, but hopefully that clears up some things. And yeah, I'm going to be doing some more videos like this. My next one, I think I'm going to do all about resupply. I'm going to share my resupply strategy and talk about every resupply I did out there. And I hope to do a video on nutrition on the trail and some other things like that. So do subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and if you want to see more. Yeah, and thank you so much for watching. Good luck on your PCT quest. If you have any more questions or if there's anything I missed that you think would be worth people knowing, do comment below, and I look forward to hearing from you. So have a nice day and goodbye.